candy that comes in boxes, flat bits, tapered bits, ribbons, other boxes. These are sticker boxes. I have things to make Jacob's ladders for Halloween. Maybe you know them as click clacks. I know 3 different ways to put them together. This is one of them, which uses short ribbons. There's a version that uses 3 long ribbons that is typically done with wood, and there's another version that uses 3 very long ribbons that is usually done with paper or cardstock or something else fairly flat. So I'll show you all 3 methods. Most of the videos I've seen don't really show what to do when they go wrong. They tell you, use this exact size, but what if that's not the size you have? What if you're, say, trying to make them out of candy boxes for Halloween? What do you do? So I'm going to make some mistakes, and the first mistakes I'm going to make will be deliberate, because I already made one out of these things, and it didn't work, but it didn't work in a particular way that I think was interesting. So let me show you that first. I'm going to use Halloween ribbon because I think it's more interesting. Okay, so I have 6 boxes. The way the woodworkers do this, they cut a bunch of blocks. They're usually narrower than this. They place the ribbon, and then they put tacks into the edges of the boxes. So the ribbon just goes back and forth from one end to the other, weaving. The tacks hold them down on the edges, and that's it. It's the simplest version that there could be. So I was hoping I could do it with these boxes. So the length of ribbon that I need is enough to weave down and up and down and up. So let's see, I need it about that long. I'll mark it on my bench here. I'm going to measure out one that's about that long. Give myself a little spare. I use this for the 2 edges and this in the middle. You typically use 3 ribbons. It's important that it be balanced so that the one side is mirror image of the other side, so that the blocks don't twist. The center ribbon goes around one way, and the other 2 ribbons are balanced on the ends. If they're not balanced, the thing can twist. The ribbon that's closest to the edge, if it's too close to the edge, when you manipulate the blocks, it tends to fall off. So it needs to be inset a little bit. Right about at that green dot is where I want that center one. This is just holding it on for now, because really it's going to get tacked down here. And the other 2 ribbons go in the other direction, off the other edge of the box. And I want this one centered there. You're getting a straight down view, so you would have better centering than I. If you're doing wooden blocks, if you're going to tack the ends, which I can't do because these are candies and I don't want to contaminate the candies inside, you fasten them to one side, turn it over, and wrap the ribbons going the other way. So you wrap the 2 ribbons over. They might be slightly overlapping, so I'm going to fudge it and move the end ones out a little bit. Okay, I'm sort of eyeing how much space this is, and I'm going to try to match it on this side. Alright. Now, of course, what happens is the ribbon goes in all directions, and you're trying to hold too many things down with your hands. So if you don't have a helper, you might want to make use of some heavy objects. This is a rice sock, but for today it's a weight. 2 to one side, 1 to the other, then you put the next box. Then you flip the ribbons again. These 2 come over to this side, and the single ribbon goes back to its original side. You notice something. We're seeing the backs of the ribbons now. So I'm pulling it snugly, but they can be tightened up later. It's not horrible if they're not really snug just now. Flip them again. So every time the 2 flip that way, we see the faces. Again, and we see the backs. So I have a little extra length, and I want a little extra length to my ribbon. because I know that what I'm about to do doesn't quite work. So I want a little extra length to play with. And here's where we would tack the edges. So now what we do is snug up the ribbons, but not make them too tight, right? All the videos and instructions say make them tight, but not too tight. Well, if you've never made these before, how do you know what too tight is? So what I've done is snug them up pretty well. Now what I'm going to do is just ease the boxes apart a little bit. And that's my way of making them not too tight. If I were doing wood, I would put a tack in each of these, turn them over, and do the same on the other side. Because I'm not working wood, I don't want to pierce the boxes, I'm going to tape them. I should probably tape both sides, but because I already kind of know this isn't going to work, I'm going to be a little loose about how I tape them. And by loose, I mean careless, not loose as in lack of tension. This is what I call the wrap and tack method that the woodworkers usually use. I chose boxes that were thick because they were going to be thick enough for me to put the tape on. Now they do work, right? If I flip this, this flips, and that one flips under, that one flips on top, that one flips under, that one flips on top. It does work back and forth. So now I'm going to stretch out the ribbons a little bit to kind of loosen them up. Do it this way, hold the one where all the ends are. They do cascade. Maybe a little bit of shaking, but the problem is they don't hang straight. They hang corner to corner to corner to corner rather than side to side to side to side. So it's fairly unsatisfying. And I found that even if I loosen the ribbons so that they kind of hang apart like that, they still want to hang corner to corner. The reason is that my tape is not a tack. If I had a tack in here, the tack would just be in the center. But the tape is extending towards the corners, and so it's tending to make the ribbon want to rest at the corner rather than pull at the center. So the center of balance is going to be underneath, is going to hang under that corner. I don't know if that made sense. But anyway, it's the tape that's not working. I want to try something else. So I'm going to take off the tape. I realized that what I was going to do isn't going to work, so I'm improvising. I got the tape off, except for I just left it on the first box just so that I didn't have to hold it on. What I thought I would do is put a line of hot glue along this edge, and that will give me a fairly small ridge to fasten the ribbons to. So I can do it with the first side of the first one. Right. I can just go like this. Maybe let that cool a little bit and wrap these ribbons over. So what I'm going to do instead is put lines of hot glue along each of these, wait till it cools, flip them over, put it on the other side, and then I'll glue to the glue, and that will give me the ridge that I want. The connections will be to a small point and not to the whole width of the box. And the hot glue, unlike tacks, does not spoil the food inside. Of course, my other option would be to eat the candy in the boxes and then squash the boxes flat so that each edge had a little ridge, and then attach the ribbons to the ridge that way. So I have a line of hot glue on each side of each of these boxes. And of course with the first sides I had to touch it to see if it was cool yet, and I got it all over my fingers. So the second time I made a dot of hot glue on my work surface, and I touched that instead of touching the boxes, so that made me feel smarter. The problem now is that I want to glue both sides, But if I set them all up like this and try to sneak the glue under, that's not going to work. So I'm pretty much going to have to glue as I go. But I know that every time the ribbon crosses one end, that's where I want to glue it, because when it's all wrapped up, that's where it's going to be. So I'll just glue as I go. I'll wrap that there. I'll wrap these here. And I'm going to keep these a bit looser than I did. I glued these two the first time. I'm going to keep them a little bit looser than I made them the first time, in the hopes that that will also help. I do the two end ones. And then I'll do the single side, hoping that I didn't pull out the two in the process of turning it over. Now if I wanted this uniform, I could put some sort of spacer in between, but I'm not going to be that picky this time. If I find that that's really the problem, then I'll be that picky next time. Of course, I'm probably messing up the alignment something fierce. Go you. These. And probably the last ones I glued are sticking to my paper top. Oh, no, they didn't. How about that? I got lucky. Alright, let's see if I can do these. I'm kind of holding this box apart from the next one down as I do this to make sure that they're loose enough. I'll set that down, pull that snug, and then hold this up a little. That wasn't as close to my finger as it looked like it probably looked like it was when viewed from above. If these were on the right side, I think I'd glue them all the way across the box, but I think I am gonna glue them the way I would tape them rather than cutting them too short. Only because it's the end one. And I can clip them while I'm waiting for the glue to cool. So here's how they look on one side. See, they're kind of, can you see there's a little bit lumpy? And I'm hoping that that will help out. So you hold it where the ends show. You don't hold it where the single or double stripe is. And the answer is no, they hang crooked still. However, they do cascade much better. So at least the motion is satisfying, even if the orientation isn't. You might wonder why I did it this way, and why I didn't align the box this way and just use a really thin ribbon. When I've tried to use a thin ribbon on a box that's wide this way but narrow this way, if this is too narrow, they tend to twist and the ribbons tend to slip off the ends. So in my experience, this was a losing proposition from the beginning. They still don't hang vertically, so I think the other setup, the short ribbon setup, would probably work better on these. At least it functions. It flip-flops satisfyingly. So this was the wrap and tack method. Even though I used glue rather than tacks, it's still the same idea. This uses the least amount of ribbon. It's the easiest one to wrap, but it also doesn't necessarily give good results.